right, so here we have the opening notes of the tournament. This is all the stars that are given away, and each year you gain a star. You can increase in rank. These are the plaques that are given and voted on by the peers. So everybody gets to vote for whomever they believe is deserving of each of those plaques. And the trophy, of course, is second to none. I personally have never seen a trophy like this, and Sky Marshal did a great job in designing it and getting it made. Three-sided, because the game, of course, is three-sided, and just a work of art. There's nothing else for it. Just really well done. And by the end of this video, you know who's going to be added to each of the other sides. And there are medals to be won, of course. You have the double-sided medals here for victory, first, second, third. And the Sky Marshal Cup, the Order of the Sky Marshal for both tables. Those are chosen by Sky Marshal himself. He just decides who is worthy of them. And of course, the winners get rings, and that's pretty cool. We also had some great giveaways here. Some great stuff for the 1914 game. Lots of great painted pieces, build things. There's some sub pens there, build plates, not build things. That's some terrain. General Hand Grenade painted all that up. Some really beautiful work in there. Lots of intricate detail. Some more painted ships and things from HBG. Well supported by Doug at Historical Board Game, of course. Some more World War I from the HBG's Global War 1914. And there's some build plates and some neutral pieces for the 1914 game. And, as we went through this weekend, it's all about the game, right? It's all about the game. It's all about doing the best you possibly can here at the Sky Marshal Cup. And so we do everything we can to have a great time. Of course, you got to have the fruit salad there on your chest as you show up. But there's always people there who are wanting to steal your thunder. They're wanting to take away the glory. And there's Kaiser Syriana, and he was playing the Germans and the Japanese this time. I'm playing the Russians, so I've got my guns out, ready to go. And we'll tell you how that fight went between the two of us. Of course, Stalin, that was my goal the whole time. Quantity has a quality all of its own. And there's something right about Comrade Stalin on that one. And you'll see that as we go forward in the game. So I'm just going to be talking a little bit about the game. Each of these photos is up for about 10-15 seconds. That's CCP. And one of my goals was to have the CCP exist at the end of the game. And so I struck up a deal with Commander Recht. He was in charge of the KMT and the Americans and the British, and we decided to play nice for 6 rounds. Had some border clashes with the Japanese. I lost one guy, and I decided to back off. Abyssinia, yes, I did send a mountain down to Abyssinia, as did the Allies, but Alex Witzani, he came down there and he wiped him out on round 1. That was one and done, and that was very well done by him. Now, I tried to roll to influence, and as if you look north of Shenxi, you'll see all that KMT stuff. Yeah, I rolled a 12, and I gave them a Warlord. So right off the bat, my rolls were not too good. And I decided to push things forward towards the Japanese border, perhaps get a few more shots in and possibly get some victories. He did make that one guy an infantry from a militia, so he could move him out. Japanese heavy transport fleet, of course, very dangerous. Made us all wonder where you're going to be going. We had no idea there, Kaiser. I thought maybe he's going to punch into China hard, Money Islands. On my side of the board, I decided to posture right up against the border. I know a lot of people say, oh, pull back and absorb the first hit. And I said, no, you know what? I'm going to move everything up. And so I built a whole bunch of infantry and moved them up to the front, moved these guys down to Transcaucasus, and I did a look like I was going to go into Turkey, but I had no intentions of going into Turkey early in the war, of course. Finland, on the other hand, I thought, maybe I'll take a poke at that. I didn't build real hard against Finland, but I ended up seeing an opportunity. And the great thing about 36 is, you take these opportunities and there's some pretty big rewards if you do it right. Spanish Civil War, that was one of the weirdest things, and we'll be showing you that as it goes along. Essentially, myself and Kaiser kept lend-leasing to them, and we kept rolling for recruitment, and we both got it. Eventually, I did get a recruitment role, and I was able to add 2 militia to the CCP. Of course, with the CCP, you really can't reach out. And so I'm surrounded by KMT and warlords, and I had no intention there. There's the other table. That's table Spitfire. So on the left, you've got Napalm, and now he's disappeared, and Friendly Fire, General Hand Grenade, and Madman Dan, as you sweep from left to right. And you can see the KMT did do an attack against me and the CCP. It was round 6, just like we had agreed upon, and his attack failed, so he had to pull back. As you know, Chinese are not effective at attacking before they become a major. The Japanese fleet, just a massive bunch of love and affection there, ready to move around and cause some grief. And they decided to move down south, and they activated Siam and postured their way down towards the Money Islands and the French colonies. Now you got to wait for Paris to fall before you make a move. Calcutta is building up a lot of stuff, hoping to withstand the Japanese surprise attack. Okay, so here we are. We have just gotten into July of 39. We're just going to be starting, and the war is going to start in earnest. So all the stuff that happened before, I took some still photos, and you saw them in the video. But this is what's going on now. So here's Japan, monster fleet, lots of transports, lots of guys. So they can probably bust out and take a whole bunch of Money Islands and all that kind of stuff. Or they could just focus fire on Calcutta. And that's under Kaiser Syriana is playing Germany and Japan right now. Alex Witzani is playing Italy. So here's the Japanese fleet again, and that's their money there. The Americans obviously don't have a lot. They haven't been spending their money at all. They have a lot of...
We're hunting wabbit.
Sorry, I've got Elmer Fudd behind me here.
You might recognize this guy.
Here's he. How's it going, eh? May those dice be with you more than they've been with me. Although I have had 2 very good battles on defense, I got to tell you. So feeling good about that. Just can't.
You should get another camera in here to film me filming you.
There you go. Isn't that
Get my phone out? We can make that happen.
Anyway, I'll just show you this table here. We'll let him talk, and I'll just show you.
Italy took Abyssinia on round 1, just like over on General Hand Grenade's table. And the British and U.S. fleets are quite large over here, but they are going to have a real problem this turn.
I painted this up for.
This is
Sky Marshal
probably going to be the turn that France is invaded by the Germans, and so you already saw what Japan has going on.
That's pretty cool.
So that's where we are. This is what Germany has ready to launch in. But that's everything. That's everything they've got, because that's all right there in Western Germany. And the Kriegsmarine is right there. Not a lot of ships, but they're annoying. Over here, I'm playing Comintern, as you know, and I've just lined everything up here just because there is no threat to them right now. There isn't a threat, right? I haven't played V4 yet, folks, so this could be a fun...
I'm not allowed to say I'm at the wrong table.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, we don't have any...
The allies will give you a little nudge if something comes up. I promise.
Little cross-pollination there. But the CCP held strong. We got attacked by the KMT, but most of them ran away, so it was kind of a I think we each took 2 losses, I think, in the whole battle. Okay. So pretty boring. Had a border clash here with the Japanese, and he killed one of my guys. That was over in Primorsky Krai. He killed an infantry of mine. I killed an infantry of his. And that was it. And then up here, I attacked with all these guys against one militia. Nobody got a hit. He turned the militia into an infantry and skedaddled. So that is where we're at right now. I did try to recruit these guys here, and because I'm such a giving guy, I just rolled a 12, which means that they become KMT. So you're welcome. So, but so far, the game's been pretty entertaining. Some real highs and lows, considering we haven't had a ton of battles yet. This battle here went really well for me. He attacked me in Madrid, but most of his stuff shooting at 1 or 2, and my stuff's defending a little higher. I didn't have as much stuff, but got some good rolls. I think I got 4 for 4 on my my 5s with my infantry, I think.
Yeah.
So
Republicans doing pretty well, all things considered.
Yeah, we're hanging in there. We've both gotten most of our recruitment rolls. The last couple rounds we both missed, so it's slowing down. We both have lost interest. Italy, Germany, and I, none of us sent anything. Oh, actually, no, I sent an artillery this last round, but I think that's all I'm ever going to send down there. So, but that's where we're at, and we'll give you an update probably in a couple of turns. Once we see the smoking ruins of Paris and possibly Warsaw, and hopefully not Moscow. Hopefully the dice are with me. All right, well, as you can see, the Japanese have taken Calcutta and have, effectively really crushed FEC's hope of maintaining some semblance of relevance. And they took Hong Kong, of course, and have established their marines there using a Siamese transport, of all things, or destroyer, pardon me. And that's a neat thing that they can do. CCP fell in the second round of attack. He took me out. So my goal of having the CCP remain alive was crushed on round 7. So that was a little disheartening. So the Soviets felt, you know what, we're going to flex a little bit. So I went into Bessarabia, and then I promptly destroyed the rail the next turn and pulled guys back. And you can see the Germans took Warsaw, ready to cause some grief there. I bulked up Leningrad, and I went in and I took Helsinki. I took all of Finland. It took me 3 rounds, but I took it all. And for that, I got some nice bonuses and was able to... flex a little bit, as the Soviets do. And you can see that the KMT, they went in and they actually defeated the warlord. They didn't roll for it. They went in and defeated it, but you can see the Japanese builds in Rihi are quite substantial. Too much for them to overcome. Then the bombing campaign began against Germany, and the part about this is the French sent 2 of their bombers in, because you can see Paris has fallen. And both bombers got shot down. So the British sent in a bomber, and that one got shot down. Yes, in 1 round they lost 3 Allied bombers. But Paris did fall, and quite convincingly. There were still about 20 units left over for the Germans. So some little landing happened on the near the end of round 1. I allowed the KMT to come in here, didn't call it a fight really. Of course, they had to declare war, but that helped them become a major power, which really changed the game. All right, here we are. We're at the end of day 1, and both tables have finished turn 10. We're on turn 11, and lots of neat things have been happening. We're going to start over here in the Atlantic, where there's been some convoying by the Germans, but they could be... hemmed in now with some seaplanes and some Navy and whatnot, but see how that works out. They did a minor landing here in Normandy, and the Germans have about 21 troops or something, plus some aircraft in Paris, so they could probably dispatch those fairly simply. The Spanish Civil War is kind of a dead goose for both of us. We've decided that if we get our recruitment roll, great, but we're not going to be lend-leasing stuff there too much anymore. It doesn't look like something we want to get involved in. I did 1 attack on Western Andalusia with a fighter and 3 infantry, and he had 2 militia plus a ghost militia, and all of them got a hit. So just hot dice at the wrong time. Germany's starting... See, Brian? Germany's starting to get some love and affection from some bombers, but he shoots down the bombers. So it's 1 round of love and affection unless they rebuild the bomber fleets. Romania is getting stacked up ready for an invasion. And the Soviet Union, I've been saving my money the last couple rounds. Got about $95 or so to spend on some cheap infantry. British holding on to Cairo up here, but the Italians, run by Alex, Sani are putting on a good show here on the Horn of Africa. Japanese came down and sniped down here and got attacked by the British, including bombards and all the rest, and nothing. They lost everything. So, again, good dice. Can't fight them. You just got to keep trying. Over here, the Japanese taking all of that. All of Calcutta FEC is pretty much dead in the water. They've got down here in Malaya, but that is it. KMT is now a major power. They did so by I didn't really need my permission, but they came and took Central Mongolia for $1, put them to 13, and trying to put some pressure on the Japanese up here, but they have quite a bit of stuff as well. But now that the KMT is a major power, their guys don't run away when they roll a 10, 11, 12, so that's handy. I've got some stuff over here. It's just sitting here not doing anything, so if it's not going to start doing anything, well, we might have to send it westwards. I did get a tank from the Americans, though, for allowing them to do that, but I also had lend-leased to them. So I had lend-leased a medium tank to them to help them with their win, which it did help them because their infantry doesn't punch hard against the city. That's pretty much it there. The Americans have decided to flex a bit here in the Pacific, and they just took the Marshall Islands without loss and have 2 loaded transports that can come here and start to cause a problem for the Japanese. So on the surface, the Axis are doing pretty well. The Japanese, like I say, they're all over the place. They're down in Africa. The Italians are very healthy here in Africa. The Japanese have taken over all this, and they're probably going to start coming after the Money Islands a bit. They took the Philippines, of course. And haven't had any real pressure up here, so I think if we start doing that, that'll help things a little bit. Over here, the Germans have been having their way with things, but now that the Allies are going to be doing some landings, hopefully that will give us a little bit of breathing room here on the Eastern Front, and this helps too. 17 damage on the factory is always nice to see. All right, so that's where we're at, and I suspect he's going to come in next round, and we'll see what we see, because I have all that money that I can build cheap infantry units with, and he probably doesn't want to fight a whole bunch of stuff that isn't there now. So I expect to be fully embroiled versus the Third Reich tomorrow on Sunday morning. So take care, folks, and the next thing you see will be a report about the second day. As far as points go, I've got 4 victory points. The Axis has, I think, 6, and the Allies have 9, but some of them are very, very tenuous for everybody. Actually, everybody's got some that can be taken away if one of the other groups decides to do so. All right, here we go. We'll see you in just a moment. So, pretty exciting first day, and as you can see, I have decided to trash my entire rail network. Not entire, I could still get into my cities. I left those open, but all around the cities, it's all been destroyed. And here come the Germans, right? Here come the Germans. So I had to do that in order to prepare. I bulked up the cities. I built some fortifications. I actually got the advanced construction so I could get her done right away. And it cost a little bit more, but we did all right. And then my little Soviet transport that could, I had built one, snuck down, and I grabbed Hong Kong from the Japanese. And they weren't too happy about that. And I thought to myself, well, that'll be it. That'll be it. So I decided to really tick off the Japanese, and I moved lock, stock, and lots of barrels into Manchuria. Knowing all these guys are likely going to die, I thought, well, we'll give it a whirl and see if we can't draw some Japanese fire away. Well, the Japanese started feeling the heat. The Americans were coming into the war a little sooner. They got in 1940, and so they built a pile of destroyers, as you can see. That's Kaiser's setup there. But in the background, you can see the tall stack of American fleets, and they were something to behold. And you'll see images of them in a little bit. But Getting back to the front here, you can see that the Germans now have 2 army groups right outside of Soviet territory. I have my 4th Army Group, and you're going to see a picture of that very shortly. I also have the 1st up north and the 3rd, which is mostly air power. So I decided to punch in towards Warsaw, and I came in with everybody that could possibly make it. It was just too much for Kaiser. He had spent a lot of time, money, and energy on the Allies, so I had a bit of a free hand on the Eastern Front. And the Germans sent their whole air force down south to Sardinia to help out with the conquest of Cairo, and that turned out to work pretty well. Spanish Civil War is raging. There was a failed attempt. Kaiser attacked me in Madrid and failed just because, well, it's a city and it's mountains, and his dice were not good at all, and I had pretty good dice. So I wanted my there's a victory point you can get for taking the Kuril Islands in Manchuria, so I thought, well, I'm going to bring out an airborne. I flew them all the way out here and decided to threaten that landing. And as you can see here, the Japanese are still with their big pile of destroyers, and their fleets are all there. And they're wanting to provide a real deterrent to this. So this is the American fleet. All their, you can see up in the top corner there, you can see their the battleships. They had 10 battleships eventually, and I think that could be 8 of them there. Back to the Eastern Front, and my ability to take Warsaw, I was really good. I surrounded Warsaw, so everybody was a negative on dice for the Germans, and I was able to take it in 1 round of combat, which was really good. Now this is the battle, in my mind, this was the battle of the game. This is the Battle of the Pacific. There's the American fleet, and you can see just the craziness. There's battleships underneath some of those battleships. Maybe they had 9, but it was a big number. And here's the Japanese fleet, with, of course, they had a lot more aircraft and a lot of destroyers and all the rest, just not as many battleships. And Kaiser and Commander Recht had a bit of a cheers before the rolling began, because we knew this was going to really decide how the game would progress, and it turned into an American win. Not without loss, though. Almost every single battleship was wounded. They lost most of the rest of their fleet. They lost their planes, but the Japanese lost everything. Back on the Eastern Front, I was able to go and take Romania, and I was able to do that because I made a deal with Kaiser that I would not go towards Berlin if he walked out of Romania. Now, I could have taken Romania anyway, but then Berlin would probably fall to the Allies, and I didn't want that. So I made the deal that I wouldn't go outside Poland, and I would just go down to Romania because I was wanting to head down to Turkey, and I get a point for that. So I got 2 points for Warsaw and Romania. The First Army was there, not very large in power, but decent amount. I had 20 units in there, and that militia we pulled out of there, we realized it shouldn't be there because it can't leave. This is my little fleet, the little fleet that could, and I was really thinking of adding some ships to it near the end, but the game ended before I could. But my fleet never saw action except for taking Helsinki. That's part of my Air Force. You can see I got some jets in there, lots of fighters, transports, tacticals, and I got airborne in there. That was all down in the Crimea because we wanted to go and take Turkey. And this is the 4th. This is my crown jewel. This is the one that I really was proud of, being able to build up this force. It was insanely large, on its own. And the 5th, a little bit less of a punch, but it's over in Rihi, where there's not a lot of opposition. So it was the big boy on the block in the Far East, and that was pretty cool. Now here's Romania. You can see I've got a couple of heavy tanks as well. That German Panzer was supposed to be in Yugoslavia, so we moved it over, and I swapped out the Romanian factory for a Soviet one. But the stage is now set. You can see the 4th Army across the channel from Istanbul. And the French were able to liberate Paris. Well, the British liberated Paris with American help, of course, and kicked out the Germans from Paris proper. I was able to take Istanbul because I had about 15 aircraft. And you saw the big block of tanks and everything. And because I had promised Kaiser I wouldn't go into German territory, I just moved the whole thing in there. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have made such a deal because I think I could have taken Berlin, but I really think the Allies would have taken it back. You can see the huge buildup I'm doing here in Manchuria, lots of forts and lots of units, lots of jets, lots of infantry, lots of militia. So a real headache for the Japanese and the KMT, but I had a no-shoot deal with the KMT that we were both fairly happy about. In hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have. I could have marched down to Nanking, but a deal is a deal. In Africa, Alex Witzani, who's taking care of things in Africa for the Italians, he actually was able to take pretty much the entire continent for the Italians. He did a great job there. Despite getting bombed and getting lots of interceptions and whatnot, he did a masterful job. And the Japanese, as you can see, are in Cape Town. They took that, and I think there were 2 or 3 attempts by the Allies to take it back, and everyone failed. And that little sub there stopped the French from getting lots of reinforcements, lots of Lend-Lease. And that's what helped the Italians. So the Japanese sub helped the Italians take over Africa. And as you can see, as the Spanish Civil War continued, just a stalemate. Kept building up, but just not enough for anybody to break through. It was World War I in Spain. As you can see here, the Germans are bulking up in northern Italy. They're sending many, many, many units down to save Rome. You can see the American fleets off of Rome, and there's a British fleet off Rome ready to get in there. So really a team effort all around for the Allies and the Axis. The Americans have the Shuck going here. Lots and lots and lots of air power. Bomber command was huge. Fighter command was huge. Lots of stuff. And then we have Calcutta. And Calcutta being gone really helped the Japanese. They have Maharashtra as well, so there wasn't any Lend-Lease going in, and it was difficult. Now we're looking at Japan here in Hong Kong again, but that was an old photo, so I don't know how that got in there. Here I have taken the Kurile Islands. The Americans have landed in Hokkaido, and things are just going downhill for the Axis. As you can see, there's just tons and tons and tons of stuff. I think that photo is a bit of a reach back though, because I hadn't taken Turkey yet. That happens sometimes when you take a bunch of photos. Sometimes they get mixed up. But anyway, it's always fun to see photos. You can see all the damage on the German factories. And this is the end of the game. This is the tech chart, so you can see how much tech everybody has and what money they're making. So the Germans 31, the Japanese 21, the Italians 16. So that tells you a good job Alex did with Italy, being able to make 16. And there's the tech. Lots of British and American tech were made. Looks like they each got 7 or 8. And lots of money, 64 for the Americans, 35 for the British, which is pretty healthy. KMT was a major power. Here's the Comintern. Yes, the Comintern are did all right. I got $67, so I had the highest IPC count. And this is the victory points for everybody. And as you can see, it was it was unfortunate. I missed it by 1. I got 9 points. The Allies got 10. The Axis had 4. You can see the pounding that the German player took, though. Kaiser took on his factories. But he did have a lot of firepower left at the end of the game. He didn't go with a whimper, and he's still feeding lots of stuff down to Italy. So it was a very good game right up to the end. You see there's a small French armies getting built up, ready to come down. The Italian factory got bombed into a crater. So that was difficult for them to work with. Obviously, Spanish Civil War, just a big old stalemate. Nothing happens there. And here you can see I'm building up Leningrad. I have my strategic rockets, which I was firing, having fun with those. But you can see the disaster of rail here, and The bad thing is the Germans never needed it. You can see I've got the First Army plus a big stack of about 25 infantry in Warsaw. And Romania, good grief, third, which is the Air Force, the fourth, which is my ground forces. We're going to see the 3rd Air Force, that's what's there. And there's also in the Crimea, I believe I had some fighters. I had 2 transports, 2 airborne, and they had already headed over and taken the northern coast. So the British take over Turkey when you take it, but that was a lot of fun. There's the mighty 4th Shock Army, and it was a shock. It really, no big fights though, because Kaiser backed out of Romania, and I took Istanbul in 1 round. So no big fights to really test out what they could really do. In fact, I killed them with artillery, so there was no shots back. The 5th Army, like I say, is here in China, in Manchuria, and I've got some jets down here. I think I had 4 jets and a tactical, and that was really concerning to Commander Recht, who's never played me before. He thought I was going to start heading into KMT territory and destroy things, but my word is my bond, and as you can see, the Japanese are contracting a little bit here. Calcutta was taken back, and with the big American fleet, he turned to building at home. They were blockaded, and this is what was in Korea, as you can see. And so too much for me to attack, but he didn't have enough punch to really hurt me, so we just kind of stared at each other. That's the remnant of the American Navy. Lots of burn marks. But I felt pretty good about this weekend, and you're going to see the finals here in just a second. It's just a sweep over the board, lots of money. So at the end I was making $70, which was pretty cool. So Table Stuka. So Commander Recht and Sky Marshal, they won. I got 2nd, and Kaiser and Alex were able to grab 3rd on Table Stuka. And you know what? It was a great table to be at. We had a great time. No hard feelings. No cursing at each other or anything like that. Everybody was a total gentleman, and just a real pleasure to play each of those people. On the other table is Table Spitfire. We have 1st place Madman Dan as a Cominturn, and 2nd General Hand Grenade and Napalm, and 3rd Friendly Fire. Now Friendly Fire had to play all 7 allies on his absolute own, from the French all the way up to the Americans. And then Commander Recht came in because I was Friendly Fire's ride home when we left. He stepped up and he completed the last few turns. I don't know if it's 16 to 20 or 17 to 20, but I believe it was 18 to 20. He took over, and did what he could. So overall, 10 points for Commander Recht and Sky Marshal. They win first. Madman Dan was a Cominturn, and he got 7 points, and yours truly got 9 points as the Cominturn. But because we had said no matter where you place, 1st place on the other table will always get 2nd, I got dropped down to 3rd place, which is fine. I think it's a good way to go, so people have a chance to win. So if one table really runs away with it, everybody will have a shot anyway if you win your own table. So here we are. I was fortunate enough to win these 2 peer awards, Most Diplomatic and Most Honorable Commander, mainly because I do keep my word when I make a deal with somebody. So that was very nice, and I was very thankful to be voted for that. But a huge thank you to Sky Marshal for running his 3rd tournament, and he runs this right out of his house, and he gets us catering, and it's a great time. Everybody has a hoot. Thanks for watching, folks. Maybe you can join us next year at the 2024 Sky Marshal Cup.